Hey there. People are always talking about coding boot camps, courses, and software job interviews. And a lot of them talk about how hard it is just to land a software job interview. And what's going on there? Why are people having such a hard time finding a software job interview? And I think it's because we're missing one important step, and that step is internships. I'm surprised about how little I see people talking about internships. Internships are the training ground before you start working at your job. It's the middle ground between education and your work. It's already hard getting a job straight out of college with a degree without an internship. So how much harder it is for people to get a software job without both the degree and an internship. My internship was what led me to getting my first software job, and the same was true for many of my friends. Internships are so important in your programming career, and in this video I'll be talking about why internships are key, why internships are better than coding boot camps, and how my internship led to my first job. Alright, so let's discuss. My name's Henrik, and I'm here to teach you how to program your own applications, stress less, build more, save time, and improve lives. But before we begin, if you're just new in your programming journey and you want to start learning how to code, I have a free guide called my Personalized Finance App Programming Guide. It's a free guide. It basically takes your credit card transactions and it categorizes them in different budget categories so you know how much you're spending. It's a free guide. It's a 12-step guide, and it'll teach you how to go from no coding experience to building your first app. And I'll link it in the description, and if you download it and pay attention to what it says, you'll definitely learn some fundamental programming concepts. Alright, so why are internships key? It's key because if you're just starting to learn how to program, it's the least barrier to entry into the tech industry. It's easier to get an internship than it is to get a job. So that's the first thing. The second thing is internships allow you to learn some business concepts, like business ideas and practical ways of actually coding. If you don't have an internship, you're going to be coding projects that you probably are not really practical, or things that probably are not being used in industry. So having an internship allows you to see, where would I actually be using my code? What kind of use cases are there for my code? Like I said earlier, internships are sort of like a middle ground between your education and your work. It allows you to learn at the same time work. So when a company brings you on for an internship, they can train you a little bit, so that's the learning component, and then you also work for them, so that's the working component. And then in this internship, they kind of see, could you actually contribute to their company? So you get actually some educational experience, and you also get some working experience. So there's a best of both worlds in that internship. You learn a lot of practical working skills that you won't learn in university or in a coding bootcamp. And I'm referring to tools like Git and Atlassian, the Atlassian suite. Those things you can kind of learn them online, or you can learn them through GitHub, but you're not going to learn a lot of other things, a lot of tools that companies are actually using. But if you start to use them in your internship, you can reference them in your resume, and then a company that's looking at your resume can ask you about your experience with those. The most important reason why internships are key is because they lead into job interviews. When you have an internship on your resume, employers can see that internship and they have something that catches their eye. When I was working at my company and we were looking for new engineers, I was too lazy to look at your GitHub project. Some people would put in the resume their GitHub link. I was too lazy to look at the GitHub link. I don't have time for that. I have my own job, so I'd rather just look at what is your working experience. And I would look at the education. That's kind of like a given that you have some education. And then I look at your internships. And then that's what really attracts my eye. I look at what kind of working experience you have, what kind of tools you've used, what kind of programming languages you've worked on. So that's what I look for when I was looking at resumes. My company would always send me to the University of Maryland. I would be in the job fair. I was the one behind the booth, and I would be looking at resumes the whole day basically. I would be talking to students, giving me their resume, and I would look at the resume, and if they can only show me a GitHub link, then I wouldn't really take that resume seriously. It's only when I see an internship, that's when I would actually see, oh, this is someone that I can actually consider. So internships are really important. Employers are really interested in internships because it gives you some sort of credibility. It tells them that this person has actually worked at a company before, has contributed to some sort of project before, has had some kind of working experience. When an employer looks at your resume and sees your internships, it gives them something that they can ask you about. Especially in interviews, they will eventually ask you what kind of work you did at your internship. And that's more of a fruitful conversation you would have in your job interview. You can talk about how it is to work on a team, how it is to work with other coworkers, and those are really important parts of working at a company. An applicant seems more legit to me when I'm asking them about their internships versus asking them about their GitHub projects. Because with a GitHub project, I don't know where you got your code from. I don't know who you worked with. I don't know what the usefulness of your code is for. Maybe you coded a really cool project, but how does that project relate to the projects at my company? That's how I would look at some GitHub repositories. I'm not saying that GitHub is completely useless though. I think GitHub is a place where you can practice learning Git, and also it gives you a chance to actually get an internship, which will lead to getting a job. Internships are really key because first you learn how to code, you learn how to work with other people, you learn some development tools, and then you learn some work culture, and then you get paid. So these are all really good benefits to having an internship. It's the easiest way to beef up your resume because without an internship, you're guessing what kind of project should I learn. But with an internship, they'll give you the projects to learn, and they'll give you projects that actually matter in the tech industry. All right, so my second point, why are internships better than boot camps? All right, so the first one is with an internship, you learn something other than web development. Whenever I look online and see boot camps, they're always talking about web development. Can anyone show me a boot camp that isn't about web development? I'm really interested. I'm really curious. Okay, the second reason why internships are better than boot camps is because they lead into a job. Usually internships are, the company is actually analyzing you during your internship. If they like you a lot, they'll offer you a job. This is what happened to me at my internship. I had my internship, I applied, and then they accepted me. They're just accepting any students, and then I got in, and then they were looking at how I was doing during the internship, and then after 10 weeks, they offered me a job. And I eventually didn't take that job, but it eventually led me to my job, and I'll talk about that later in the video. The third reason why internships are better than boot camps is because you actually get paid. At my internship, this was back in 2011, in my first internship, I got paid $8,000. And now at a boot camp, you're probably paid $10,000, right? But in internship, you get paid $8,000, right? So that's why internships are better than boot camps. All right, the last reason why internships are better than boot camps is because it gives you better networking opportunities. People say a lot that boot camps are good because of the networking opportunity. You get to meet employers sometimes. Sometimes a boot camp will connect you with employers. So that's good. And sometimes they'll connect you with other colleagues. But I believe that internships are the best way of networking, because at an internship, you actually meet people in the industry. You meet people who are actually working at these companies. And then when you build those connections with people, that's how you can lead into your first job. And that's what happened to me. I had my internship, and my advisors and the director of my internship, he had a working relationship with my company. With the company at my first job. And when my eventual boss at my first job saw that I was working under that program, or I had worked in that internship, they wanted to bring me in for an interview. Connections are really important, but you're not going to find them from your classmates in the boot camps. You're not really going to find them from networking events. You're mostly going to find them at actual working places. And internships is the gateway into the workplace. It's the gateway into the industry. And that's where you can start to make real connections in the tech industry. All right, now I'm going to talk about how my internship led to my first job. And this internship is the only internship I ever had. I applied to it in 2011, and it was a 10-week program, and I was paid. And then it was a good working experience. It was about information assurance and cybersecurity. And my educational background was electrical engineering. And electrical engineering doesn't really have much to do with information assurance. But because I had that internship, I went to a job fair at the University of Maryland, and there was a company there, and they saw my internship. And then they saw my resume on my internship, They saw my internship on my resume. They took my resume. I noticed the recruiter, he circled my internship. And then I didn't know why he circled my internship, but that's what led me to my job interview. They emailed me, they asked me to come in for a job interview. And when he was looking at it's only afterwards that I realized why they circled it. And it's because I found out at the job interview that my eventual boss, has a working relationship with the director of this program. So I went to that job interview. They didn't really ask me too many questions. They asked me some basic questions. What was my internship like? What kind of projects did I work on in school? And then towards the latter half of the interview, they started talking about the benefits of working at their company. So I was really surprised, and I was thinking, wow, they're trying to convince me to work at their company. So all that to say is, I really think that internship is what led me to my first job. And this kind of story happened a lot to my friends. My friends didn't necessarily have a job interview that went that smoothly, but what I'm saying is their internship really helped them to get a job. I don't have any friends who didn't have an internship. A lot of them, or all of them, had some sort of internship, and then when we got out of college, they easily found a job after. And a lot of them actually, when they finished their internship, had job offers at that company. Internships are really important because they sort of lead into the field that you're trying to get into. Like for me, I wasn't really thinking about networks and security when I was in college. I didn't even know that there was such a kind of job. But when I had that internship put me on a trajectory towards that. So I started working in networks and security after I got that internship. So an internship kind of leads into the field that you're trying to get into. All right, so I'll mention one caveat. I was getting my bachelor's in electrical engineering when I was looking for internships. So it really helps me to find internships. If I am currently pursuing a bachelor's or some sort of technical degree, it will be a lot easier to find an internship. And so a lot of people online, I've seen them say, they would agree with all my points. They would say, yes, internships are ideal, but they're almost impossible to get into unless you have some sort of degree. And I think there's some validity to that. But I would also mention that in my internship, there were not just engineers and computer science majors. It was a mix. In my internship, there were computer science majors, there were electrical engineers, there were also math majors. And one of the math majors at my internship actually took the offer and eventually started working at that company. The purpose of this video is to encourage you to first look for an internship before looking for a job. I'm not saying that finding an internship is going to be easy. You're going to have to look for the right internship. You're going to have to get the coding skills necessary to start working at that internship. And what I'm saying here is that it's a lot easier to get that internship than it is to actually just get a job right away. So that's why I'm encouraging people to get an internship first. The last thing I'll say in this video, and probably the most important thing I will say in this video, is you need to find your niche. And what am I talking about? You need to find your niche in the marketplace. That's the trick with landing a job. A job is basically your niche in the market. An internship is the market saying, we need someone to fill this kind of role in the market. If you go into a coding bootcamp and you're just doing web development, or you do self-study and you just focus on web development, you're going to miss out on all the fields that have niches that you can actually get into. If you want to make programming your job, if you want to get into software, you have to be open to other kinds of software. Like for me, I didn't think that I was going to work with networks and security. I didn't even know that there was such a niche. But because there was that internship, I knew that this is something that the market was asking for, and this was a place where I can enter and actually get a job. If you can find an internship and then they accept you, you've basically proven your niche. You found a place in the marketplace where you can actually make a contribution. And if you do well there, that's when you can actually carve out a space for yourself, and then you can start working there and work there full time as your job. And this is really key, because once you find your job, that's when you can start specializing your programming skills. You don't want to be specializing your programming skills in this one field, but there's no market there. You want to find where in the market is there a niche that you can fit in, and then you go in there, and then you can carve out a space, and then you specialize in your coding skills and your programming skills. You get better and better, and then you found a job, and then you found a place where you can actually contribute to society. So this is why you should first look for an internship before finding a job. And what do you think? Do you think that internships are really important? What is your experience with internships? Have you been applying to internships? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I love to hear how people, what kind of experiences people are in looking for internships. And if you're struggling to find an internship, please share in the comments, and I would like to see, maybe I can share you some advice. And if you're just starting to learn how to program and you have no coding experience, or you want to, or have a project that you can build your GitHub repository, and then you can start building those skill set to find an internship, you can download my free programming guide, my personalized finance app programming guide. And it's really important because projects are really important. If you have no internship, you have no working experience, you need to start with a project. And that's what this programming guide is for. It will give you that project, and I'm there with you. I'm working with you step by step. And then you can always email me if you have questions. So definitely download that guide. It's in the link in the description. All right, that's it for this video. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me, to listen to what I had to say. I hope it was really helpful for you and give you some good insight and advice. And until next time, peace.